I know when I first started the therapy, he had the audio series. When you first came into the groups, were you using the audio series then?
I was not, no. So I was kind of more of the old school, I guess, where I was new to it. I had a lot of, self-research kind of done. I had read several books. I didn't mention before coming to the groups, I did try to cure myself, so to speak, by joining a Toastmasters club, and I, gave speech after speech after speech after speech, but yet the amount of anxiety from speech to speech kept continuing to rise, not getting any better. At that point I was still self-medicating with the couple of drinks or something before on the nights where I would have to give a speech. But yeah, it was when I came through my first group, I believe it was a 12-week full day Saturday groups, and we'd come in and we'd get the handouts for that week. We'd get the handouts for each week. So for me, it was good to do it that way because it kind of begged me for wanting more the next week. I'd take the handouts that I got and then I'd just absorb them, probably with my obsessive nature that I kind of have that's probably also tied into the anxiety stuff in me. I could easily read a handout, 3 or 4 times a day, and be faithful of doing that every day. So by the time I got to the next group, I may have read that handout 30 times, if it was a applicable handout for what I was going through, because a lot of the stuff was good, but it just wasn't quite as potent for me.
And you had tried some things. Going back to Toastmasters, I know a lot of people maybe at first seek to overcome some of these problems by doing activities like that. In your opinion, does that help people, or if it doesn't, say why? What are the drawbacks of trying to force yourself to do stuff like that?
For me, it was like a double-edged sword, because I remember when I would go and do a speech at Toastmasters, I immediately I would feel like, oh man, that's great. I did it, I can do it. I know I can, give speeches, and, I do a pretty good job, and so some of that stuff was there, but at the same time, there was the other side of me that was like, you were being a little bit too serious, dude, when you were giving that speech. That one guy I remember was looking at you when you were giving your speech, and I don't think he was really approving too much of what you were saying. I think, at this point in my development now, maybe I've given 3 speeches. Maybe I should be a little further along than I already am, shouldn't I have become a little bit better of a speaker than I really am right now at this point, So there was that initial feeling of positive, like, wow, I feel so good about doing this, but then that might last for the first half hour or hour after I gave my speech, and then it was like, here comes all those negative thoughts now coming in about my performance and how I did and all that stuff.
And you talked about getting handouts in the therapy group. Do you think that's important to have handouts in therapy?
For me, it was one of the revolutionary, I guess, changes that happened for me in my whole recovery was just learning how the brain works. None of the books that I read or things that I had done to try to help myself really talked about how the brain works, talked about slowing down your talk and how that's going to slow down all of your, physiological activity, and how just reading things aloud to yourself, and having your brain now working in multiple capacities instead of just reading something. Now I'm speaking it, so I'm hearing it, so it's all, part of this healing process, and I actually noticed that kind of working for me within the first week or two when I was doing that faithfully every day. It really actually made me feel better.